Sonic Frontiers is not a good video game, but it's a pretty damn good Sonic game. Now, I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but hear me out. Let me talk. Listen real quick. In this video, I'm going to be telling you guys about my first impressions with Sonic Frontiers. I played it for a few hours over on my Twitch stream, and this is what I've got to say about the game so far. First and foremost, in terms of 3D Sonic games, I think I can get the elephant out of the room. We can move past this. Yes, it is easily the best 3D Sonic game we've gotten in like a decade. Sonic Forces ass, Lost World ass. Like, whatever they've attempted to do has been so bad that the expectations were below Satan's asshole, bro. Was not excited for this game, especially when they started showing some of those early trailers or whatever. I was like, man, this looks just not good. And then they started showing a little bit more gameplay, and I was like, oh, hold up, this is looking kind of nice. I'm kind of rocking with it a little bit. Is this game gonna actually be fire, low key? And then the reviews came out. Ooh, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. And I'm thinking, I'm like, whoa. Sonic games, that's usually a smooth 3. That's usually a smooth 4 on a good day. When I saw 7 out of 10s, I was like, this might not be that bad. So lo and behold, it's finally launch day, and I tried out Sonic, and my overall impressions were, I think Sonic fans are gonna froth out the mouth, bro. If you are a Sonic meat rider, you are going to cry tears of joy, of happiness playing this game, because it is finally a good Sonic entry that isn't Sonic Mania in the past like 10 years or so. So I'm happy for the Sonic fans out there. Y'all finally got something pretty damn decent. For the rest of us, for the rest of humanity that might not have Sonic's, you know, meat deep down their esophagus, it's a pretty decent game. I'll say when this game ends up going on sale, you know, maybe you could get it for 30 bucks, 20 bucks, or even if you want to wait like a year or so when it's discounted to like 10 bucks, you're gonna have a great time. I think it's a pretty fun open sandbox. Controlling Sonic feels pretty good. It's nice and tight and snappy and responsive. I'll talk a little bit about what I don't like here in a second, but for the most part, the game controls pretty damn well. Let's go ahead and talk about the game a little bit more in depth here. No spoilers, obviously, unless it's something from like the first like hour or two of the video game. I haven't even played that far, so I couldn't spoil it if I wanted to. But Sonic Frontiers, the game opens up and like you crash land on some island and you're like, whoa, like what the hell's going on? I don't really know. I don't really care, to be honest. I'm not here for a plot, for a story. I don't really give a shit. I just want to run around. So immediately when you're first able to start running around in like sort of the open world, I immediately felt like, ooh, this is kind of smooth. This is just kind of nice. I'm kind of rocking with this a little bit. You know, this feels good. And you know, the game opens up and it's like sort of slowly introducing you to the game mechanics. And I do think the tutorials are a little egregious. The pop-ups are a little annoying. Oh my God. I have to go into a training sim. Are you fucking kidding me? But regardless, that's regular video game shit. You'll get over that stuff pretty damn quickly. And then you'll sort of find that once you start fighting enemies and doing stuff, that it's pretty damn good. The way that the game is like sort of structured is you have this open hub world area, and it's split up into like different little islands or zones, you could call them, whatever. And then in those little islands, there's like the classic style Sonic maps that'll play something like Sonic Generations or Sonic Unleashed day levels. It kind of feels a little bit like that, and those levels are extremely fun. I think I only played one that I wasn't really a big fan of. It was on the second island. I think it was 2-2, I believe is what it was. I wasn't really a huge fan of that, but everything else that I played was really fun, and the music for these stages is pretty good. Now, it does sound like some H&M Hollister type beats or whatever. I don't know what they searched up, you know what I mean, to get that. They literally searched up like Honestly Nevermind by Drake type beats or whatever, and then started putting that on. I definitely prefer the more classic style Sonic songs, you know, songs from like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic 06, Sonic Adventure. Like, I much prefer that kind of soundtrack, but this is a new direction and I do like that. But speaking of music, the hub world music is kind of just ass. You'll have this like very light piano playing in the background. A lot of people will say it kind of reminds them of Breath of the Wild. I get why, but it's not necessarily 100% like that. But regardless, it doesn't really invoke too much excitement when you're running around the open world in Sonic Frontiers, but you know, I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be like that. For the majority of the game, you are running around the open world environments of these islands. You know, it's not like the majority of the game you're in those high octane levels where there's, you know, bumping music and stuff like that. I do feel like they're a little short from what I've played so far. Again, I'm only on the second island, but they're a little short, a little easy. Other than that, they're definitely very fun. Now, when you're running around this open world, of course, you get introduced with the graphics and the game that looks like shit. This might be the worst looking game released for the PlayStation 5. There's no other way to put it. The game does not look great. It does not look excellent. It's a little bit of a letdown. It's not the end of the world. The game is serviceable. Like, there's some situations, some areas where it looks good, particularly when you're fighting like big giant enemies, or like when you're doing the first Titan boss fight. I think it looks pretty decent there, but for the most part, the shadows look very bad. The resolution doesn't look very good. Again, the game controls great, so it's not the end of the world. When you look out into the vistas, when you look out into the distance, you'll see a bunch of random rails floating out of nowhere. It's not as bad when you're playing the game, because you don't really notice it. You're kind of focused on where you're going and where you need to be or whatever. You're not really focused on what's out in the distance, but when you do notice it, it's pretty bad, especially because the game has so much random like popping. There's texture popping. You'll be like running or whatever, and then something will just spawn right in front of you, or like a big giant cliff will start spawning or whatever. And it does take you out of the whole immersion, and it does, you know, really take you out of the game, because, you know, you're Sonic, you want to run fast, and it's kind of a little whack when you running fast, you speeding through all the vistas and shit like that, and then you see things like randomly popping in or whatever. It's not necessarily the best. But what is actually an improvement, and I would go as far as to say this, I think Sonic Frontiers has easily the best combat system in any Sonic game. Now, Sonic games not necessarily known for their combat system. A lot of them, you're just pressing A twice to kill enemies. But this game, I will say, looking at, you know, early trailers and previews, I wasn't necessarily sold on the whole combat aspect of this game, but actually playing it, it's actually pretty damn fun and intuitive, particularly when you're fighting some of the bigger enemies and some of like the mini bosses, and then even like the, you know, the big titans that you have to be fighting. I'm assuming there's one per island. Like, those fights are actually like really damn cool. And there's like these big bosses that are scattered throughout the world or whatever. One of them was really dope. It kind of looked like the Dragapult Pokemon. I forgot what the hell that thing's called from Pokemon Sword and Shield, but it's kind of like got this like triangle shape for its head, and then it's got like this carpet or whatever, and you're running on the carpet trying to get to the head and attack it. That shit was super dope. There's one where that spawns all these rings that you have to glide around, and then eventually like you complete the rings and you go in and you start attacking that thing. That shit is really fun. I think it's honestly like pretty dope and invigorating, to be honest. The only issue is that in between all those really fun parts, like doing those, you know, those classic Sonic stages or fighting, you know, those big bads or whatever, you're just kind of running around exploring the sandbox. And it's kind of interesting at first because, you know, you're taking this rail and it's taking you down to this section of the map, and you never know what's going to be in this section of the map. You're like, whoa, you know, this is kind of cool. But I think it gets old really fast. I say like after like 2 or so hours, 2.5 hours of playing the game, I was kind of bored of the gameplay loop. So I think this is a game that'll be really good to play in like bursts. I think it's a very relaxing game. Honestly, in that way, I think it's perfect for the Switch, albeit I've heard it runs absolutely terribly on the Switch. I was playing on PS5. It feels like, you know, a good, nice casual game to just throw on and have fun with. You know, there's Sonic's voice, which I think is going to be polarizing.
Tails? Amy?
Sonic's voice is so weird.
Key, huh? Sure beats being called a rodent. Are you saying I can rescue my friends?
His voice is so weird. And I think for me, I don't hate it as much as other people, but I definitely wouldn't say I'm a fan of it by any stretch. It kind of sounds weird because, you know, when we think of Sonic, we have a certain way that we think of him to be. We have a certain way that we think that he sounds, and he's just not that at all. It kind of sounds like a random, you know, action protagonist kind of thing, and it kind of takes me out of it a little bit, especially when I'm watching the cutscenes. I feel this way for all the voices, all the voices are like way less cartoonish. And you know, when I was bringing up this sort of con that I had on my Twitch stream, some people were like, yeah, I actually like that aspect, or they were saying that, you know, this game's trying to be more dark, so they kind of like that. To me, I don't really give a shit about a game being dark. A Sonic the Hedgehog game, I don't care. I think there can be a nice balance between something a little bit more serious and dark, like Sonic Frontiers or Sonic Adventure series or whatever, and something that's like so fucking mind-numbingly for children, like Sonic Boom or something. I think there can be a middle ground there, and it feels really weird to have Sonic not be quippy or not have him making jokes or whatever. It's a little odd. And what's also a little odd is that like you have this game that seems like more like serious or whatever, and then like you do these random mini games with Amy Rose's mini quest or whatever the fuck, and like they're playing this really cheerful like classic style music or whatever, and it's like it just feels like there's like this stylistic clash in the game. It's like, okay, are you trying to be serious? Are you trying to like be upbeat and energetic, or are you trying to like be more casual and kid friendly? Like what really is the goal here? It's kind of hard to, it kind of gives you like a little bit of shock when you're jumping from moment to moment. One of my biggest cons when it comes to the gameplay is the jumping aspect. Now, I know this is a big problem in a lot of 3D Sonic games, but in this game in particular, I just feel like when I'm jumping or trying to platform, it is very difficult to know where Sonic is going to land. Bro, I wish you could see like what was underneath you. That should be so cool. You just kind of have to guess. Like one of the oldest tricks in the book, bro. You have the character shadow be where they're gonna drop. You know, usually in video games, let's take Crash Bandicoot, for example, which was, I believe, the game that invented this whole aspect of jumping. Usually the character shadow on the ground is where the character is going to land, but that doesn't happen in this game. Like Sonic shadow is like what a realistic shadow would be. If the light source is here, Sonic is in the middle of the screen, then the shadow will be towards, you know, the bottom right of the screen or whatever. You know, that makes sense, realistically speaking, because that's how shadows would work in real life, but it's a damn video game. I need to know where I'm going to land, and the depth perception is like very off-putting. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to land. It's very difficult, but you know, I'm sure that, you know, when you learn the levels and all that stuff, you'll be zooming through them. It'll be fine, whatever. Yeah, man, Sonic Frontiers is overall, it's pretty decent. Like, I wouldn't say it's like this masterpiece game that everybody from the Sonic franchise or from the Sonic fandom has been waiting for. Y'all might think it's a masterpiece because it's one of the only Sonic games I've played, again, in the past 10 years that's actually been like somewhat enjoyable, or has actually been like, for all intents and purposes, like the game works. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy I have to say that, but you know, the game functions. Does it have some like little random weird glitches here and there? Sure. Does the camera suck? Yes. Truthfully, I don't think we can ever beat the camera issue that permeates every 3D Sonic game. I just don't think it's possible. So this game does suffer from that. There will be annoyances like that, but overall, I think if you're playing Sonic Frontiers, you're going to be running around at the speed of sound, having a damn good time. If there were some criticism I could levy towards the game, I kind of miss some of that more edgy lightheartedness from like Sonic Adventure series. Like, yeah, the Sonic Adventure series had like a more serious plot or whatever, but you also had City Escape. You know what I mean? It just feels fun and adventurous, you know? I really liked that aspect of Sonic Adventure. I wish the music was more of the classic style. That's not to say that these tracks are bad. I actually think a lot of them are really good when you're fighting bosses or when you're in the stages. I think the soundtracks are, you know, pretty damn good. It's just not necessarily what I would classify as, you know, my preferred soundtrack when playing Sonic, because I feel like Sonic games usually have a very strong soundtrack, and this one I think is just, you know, pretty good rather than amazing like Sonic games can usually tend to be. Yeah, the boss fights are really fun. The Titan fight that I did, you know, on the end of the first island was very enjoyable. I liked it, but truthfully speaking, I don't know how much of me likes this game because it has Sonic the Hedgehog and I'm watching Sonic the Hedgehog do Sonic the Hedgehog shit, because I truthfully think that if this game was like a random character that was made for like Xbox, for example, if Microsoft came on stage and was like, we have a new game we've been developing, we've been working on, we think the shit's fire, we think you're gonna love it. And instead of like Sonic, it was like a gerbil running around doing the same shit Sonic's doing. And instead of Amy Rose, it was like a fucking parakeet or something. And she's like, oh my God, Sonic, Sonic, or, you know, whatever his name would be. I feel like it would get clowned. Nobody would like this shit. If this Sonic game was called Bubsy Frontiers, this shit's getting 2 out of 10s. Like, that's just how I feel about it. Because I don't think the game is necessarily that good. It's good when you give the context of like the state of Sonic games, you know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of Sonic fans are giving this game a pass that like other games generally don't get because it's a Sonic game. It's like, yes, it has texture poppings. Yes, the camera sucks. Yes, the platforming is a little annoying, but the game fucking works, and it's pretty fun. You know, it is a decent time. So I think that gives it a big edge. Again, if this was like a random ass game with, you know, random characters that nobody like was attached to for that long, would it really have the same reception? It's hard to tell. We can't really live in that universe where that's the truth. But for the most part, Sonic Frontiers, not an amazing game. I wouldn't even classify it as a very good game, but it is pretty decent. It is fun. If you're a Sonic fan, you're gonna love this game. If you've enjoyed Sonic games in the past, if you like stuff like Generations or Sonic Colors or stuff like that, some of those good, better Sonic games, I think you'll pick this game up and you'll have a decent time. I feel like this game is definitely like a wait for a sale type beat. Like if you were to get it again for that $10 to $20 mark, I think you'll have a great time with it. 60 bucks, a bit of an ask in my opinion, but you know, the game is decent. Doesn't have any game-breaking glitches that I ran into so far. Doesn't run the best, doesn't look the best, but actually running around, you'll have a pretty decent time with Sonic Frontiers. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're new around here. Peep me out on my Twitch channel where we play games and record all these videos you see here on this YouTube channel. We record them all live on my Twitch stream, and you guys can actually see the whole prospect of everything that we talk about here. So thank you guys again for watching. Thank you guys for the support on the YouTube videos and on the streams. I appreciate y'all. I will catch you in the next video.